Shuhaib Ali, welcome.
I am. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, so you're joining from Dubai. A lot of people don't know that.
Mhm.
So, what
How
time is it
come?
now?
The time right now is 10:45
10:45 a.m.
a.m. Yes, in the morning.
So it's 12:15 p.m. here. Okay, so we are communicating from different time zones, almost like a time travel, connecting
Same
from two
sun,
different universes.
the same sun, so it's okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right, sure. Let's directly dive in. Okay, so these are all based on my observations, and
Mm.
uh, obviously, each person is gifted with different skills and experiences, and that's what makes a good team. You know, one person fills the gap of the other person fills the gap of this person, and that's why because based on the researches I've been doing in the past few days, I bought a lot of business books, how teamwork, this works, that works. I invested on a book that is 5,000 rupees. Oh, I couldn't show it. It's there. It's this big, and it talks about how business works and all of that. So the reason why I like that book is because it has a lot of diagrams and it's fully visual.
Okay.
So I love the colors, and I thought, okay, it's a good investment. So let me buy it. Okay.
Was it by recommendation or did you find the book?
It wasn't recommended because I don't think it has one author. It's a
Okay.
multiple authors. So because of that, I don't think it has a unique um, brand view or something. Because
Okay.
usually books sell because of one person, but since
Is
it's
it a book that belongs in educational syllabus or is it just a read?
it's by DP Productions or something. Because I have seen a similar type of books in multiple bookshops. I'll try to
Okay.
show it to you in a while if possible.
Cool. Okay.
Okay, so Shoaib, whoever we are right now and whatever we are right now has it has a bigger impact from a childhood, right? Whoever we are right now, the belief system, the experiences that has shaped us to be who we are right now.
Mm.
So I want to actually start off with you telling everyone about your childhood. What kind of a kid were you when you were, you know, back then? Were you a confident kid, shy kid, or highly uncontrollable? What kind?
Um, I can only tell you of what my elders have told of me. Um, and the only time that they would express what type of child I was or a kid I was is only when I get into some mischief. Not necessarily if you don't really get a history or a backlog or a comment on a backlog of who you were when you are just being good or nice. Okay, so this is just general human behavior. Um, so if I would get into any trouble with my brothers or with anybody outside, and if it's to do with character, like if I had failed at performing at character, my mother would instantly say that, when you walked into school, your teachers used to say that he's a gentleman to his fingertips. Okay. Now I'm here seated here wondering, listening to my mom, when my mom makes a comment like that, a gentleman to his fingertips. And then I just went on into a fist fight or I got into some mischief or the other. Most of the time, the reason why I would find myself in trouble is that I had a, I had and I still have a zero tolerance to any wrongdoing around. Like if it's not right, I don't like it. I can't let it go by. So majority of the time, the reason why, until very recently, very recently, I found myself unable to keep quiet when there are things wrong around me, when there's something that I could do. That's one aspect of judging what type of a kid I was. um, I also feel that I was one of those kids who would prefer my company instantly, and would be perfectly would be perfectly okay with just spending time by my own. I'm like perfectly okay with that. Like I wouldn't want to go and grab somebody's attention or whatsoever. Among my among siblings and cousins and friends, right until my O levels, I was always the uncool guy.
Uncool meaning
Uh,
what kind?
Uncool meaning like don't involve him with everything. Go to him only if you need something. People would have secrets, and they would be like, don't share it with Shuhaib. Like, he's not one for the team. Like, he's not a team player kind of a feeling. But that again is only when they're up to some mischief or something that I would not be interested in. They know, like, I've got rules. I'm like, there's things you do and there's things that you don't know. But apart from that, I was very much appreciated in my cricket team. I couldn't play football very well, mainly because I didn't really enjoy the game much because at that time the ones who I used to play with were not really playing well, I would say. So I did not really have the people who would be that supportive. But cricket was a more disciplined game back then. Now it's not, sadly, but back then
Oh,
it was. So yeah, it's because of too much of money involved in the sport,
yeah.
or rather, not enough avenues of. Anyway, sorry to deviate.
That's a different topic altogether.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to go there. But that's the kind of kid I feel that I was, or rather, what I've been told of. I also feel there's something very specific about me being a kid is that um, I would be the one who would be like quickly move away from a fight. Like, I wouldn't walk in wanting to start a fight. No. If like there's two people fighting, stop fighting. If you're not fighting over something meaningful, right? And I feel the most painful moments in my life as a kid is when I've been bullied, because I know what I'm capable of, and I have younger brothers as well, and I'm not afraid of getting into trouble. But I know very well that if I express myself with this kid who is causing trouble to me, or with this certain amount of people who's going to cause trouble with me, I'm going to go full on. And if I go full on, there's no coming back. And every time I've gone full on, I have regretted it. Like, if I become violent, I become violent. I break a nose. I have broken somebody's teeth. I have twisted other people's arms. I
As a
have
kid, yeah.
as a
That,
kid, right?
they have to keep
I got
bullying.
I belonged to this little. I went to this little private school, which was back then, of course, they were called international schools in Colombo. I will not mention. Those of who know the school, they know the school. But the reason why I'm not mentioning it is because I'm going to give some. Surprisingly, I was the only child who the principal said, just keep him at home, don't send him. Just keep him at home. Like, don't send him to school, please. Yes, we don't want him. And that's a school that says, like, hey, if you don't pay your fees, don't turn up.
Oh,
They're desperately in need of students, and
okay.
and they were like willing to let go. But that's the same school, that same principal decided to give me prefectship, and I became a prefect. I started voicing myself. I started directly talking to the teachers. It's like, you don't even know half the story. You
That's
only
direct.
listen to what they are. Yeah, you listen to every lie that goes around. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't lie. Like, I never liked lying. I used to love telling stories. I will elaborate stories, of course. I will make stories more funny. And
Mm,
but that would be in a very intentional manner. That, like, hey, there is exaggeration involved, or there is a little bit of a drama involved, and things like that. Of course, I would say it that way, and people understand it. I won't say it in a manner where you have to say it to believe me. I would say it in a manner I want you to laugh. That kind of a thing. I would do that. Um, I think I also was very dumb, and
that means subject wise, or what kind of?
I would easily be fooled. People would fool me quickly. Like, I'm quick to trust.
Mm,
I think that is also because of I think pure innocence, I would say, and that came out. I was able to overcome that until I'm still unable to overcome it, I would say. But I started creating my own support circles. Like, instead of working with people outside, I started looking for like-minded people who are on that same intellectual level. Until I get to know the person, like, very well, I don't get involved with any form of business or dealing or training and development or whatever it is. Like, I don't even go for JVs with other trainers
mm,
until I understand whether they're having that level of integrity,
mm,
right? I have worked on. There are some trainers. I'm sure you also know a few. We worked on with some trainers. Like, they come on board, and we work on them with 6 months with designing a project. On the
mm,
sixth month, we've told them, like, you do it on your own. Like, you do it on your own. It's okay. We've done one batch. It's good. You do it on your own. It's a good one. It's an amazing product. Take it and go. And the entire team is like, what the hell is going on? Why would you do that? And it's like, no, they don't match the same integrity levels. Like, you can't gel with them. We can't go long. We can't go big. We can't go
mm,
solid. So I've decided, like, don't worry. There's nothing wrong
mm.
in trying to be just just neat for yourself. And I feel that's okay.
Yeah. Um. So also, I think the
Stubborn. I
more
must tell you. Sorry for interrupting you. Stubborn. Yes, I remember. I've been called very stubborn. You're very stubborn, Shuhaib. Why are you so stubborn? Stubborn. Always very, very, very stubborn. You're very, very stubborn. Although people don't say stubborn now to me. This, as a child, I remember being called stubborn. Why are you so stubborn? um, I don't know whether I was a disobedient child, because I completely recall many a times that I've been called disobedient.
Mhm.
Right? You're so disobedient. Maybe that's a term that is being used for me to be obedient, but I feel that I've always been obedient. I don't know why.
Okay.
As a child. Okay. So that's me
So
as a kid.
what I think is, when you say the more innocent you are, so people think innocent means like, you you are always controlling yourself, sort of. But the more innocent you are, the more you are prone to take negativity more seriously and try to. So maybe the reason why you sometimes went too harsh is because you saw a lot of injustice.
Um,
Could it be the
I would
case?
say um, I would say that your kindness as a child could be taken as a weakness, or others would utilize it at their advantage. And when you're in a very when you come from a good home, and when I say this, I'm not saying that I am coming from a very good home and anybody listening is not. What I'm trying to say is we all come from good homes. It's just that we are deprived of certain elements of goodness or greatness among that good, right? Because we're all taken care of. We all come from good homes. We are brought up in a bubble, brought up in a bubble where we fall short of certain forms of thinking and experiences. And we expect that same environment to be around everywhere, and it's not the case. And I don't remember a day in my life that my parents would have ever said a lie to me. Like they, like never. Like sometimes you can catch a parent off guard saying a lie. If we walked into the supermarket as a family and I said I want this chocolate, if it was a no, it's a no. Like that no is not becoming yes. And if my dad says I'll get it for you later, it's definitely later. I know it's coming. Like even 2 weeks down the line, he would still bring it up. I would have forgotten about it. He would just simply bring up. I remember I asked for Ribena. So Ribena is a black currant drink. You just mix it with water and then you used to have it. It's very high in vitamin C. Of course, it's a shelf life product. So I remember asking my dad, I want this drink because I don't like Sunquick or the other mixed drinks. And my father said, I'll get it for you. After like a month or so, after a really long time, I just see the bottle on the dressing table at home. Right. And that immediately recalled. And then after that, I asked my mom, whose is this? And I said, Dad said it's yours. And I'm like, okay, fine. That's good. But that's not the case with every home. Like sometimes some dads have to say certain things. They find themselves in a situation where they have to promise certain things they're unable to deliver. And it's not necessarily that they intend to lie. But Alhamdulillah, I mean,
Situations.
yeah, the situation. So, but when you come from those homes, also like everything is like super smooth, things like that. You tend to think that it's going to be the same with the world outside, and that has repercussions, and that's a hard lesson to learn, and you learn it.
Because you grew up with that belief system, and um, I think for me, um, I got used to not asking for much things. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So at the beginning, we had a lot of financial struggles and everything. So because of that, we developed that mindset of, okay, I understand it might not be affordable. It could be a small thing even, and we're like,
Hmm.
it's fine. I mean, we can, maybe one day we can get that, or maybe later. So we were able to. So that kind of mindset we grew up in. And later, when I discovered people, like they can buy whatever they want, they have pocket money, they have this money, and all of that they can spend whenever they want. So it was kind of like a new thing for me. I'm like, okay, there are people like this. So it's a
Hmm.
way we grew up, and it's kind of hardwired inside us. And later, yeah, as you told, it was a little difficult for me to process that and get to that belief system.
I feel, Andy, I understand where you're coming from in terms of what you just said. And I think that emotion is also very much relatable
Mm,
with every child. Is You can always keep looking up to something that you want to have,
mm,
and you can always be in a situation you can't afford,
mm,
no matter how much of situation of wealth you are in or you're not in, unless that upbringing is brought about where hey, uh, there is an enough line, you don't need it,
mm,
right? You have, this is what we afford and that's where we are,
mm.
like and that mentality needs to be bridged through. um, of course, I can't relate to hunger.
Mm.
which is I still feel that if by religion I did not have 30 days of fasting, trying to connect with hunger a little bit, I think I would be a really horrible person. And if you look at religions, anybody who practices any religion, they have a small touch towards some forms of hunger. They exercise hunger in order to bring that humane impact. But I also feel that no matter how much of a comfort zone you are in, you're always going to find, as a child, you would be finding things that, I want this, and you can't afford it. One of the best things that my father brought in to my family as a child we had was he was, of course, I know very well he paid through his nose, right? Because coming now, coming being an adult now, just reflecting back on times in terms of how my family would manage their bills and how my parents would make sure that all children are being educated, they've been fed, they've been clothed, the necessary entertainment is being given, and classes, schools, everything. And I always have this guilt that, I used to be, I always felt that I used to be the chunk of absorption. Being the eldest in the family, I used to always feel that, I'm like taking a chunk out of this man's wallet. And of course, I didn't care about how much he was doing, but I was worried about why they would do so much for me in compared to the others. I would always feel that way. But it's perfectly all right as a parent that they do so. But one of the best things what I was saying was that he brought in a computer home. And even though there was a computer at home, right, and everybody's studying it, we're all playing games on it, and Microsoft Word, Excel, and we waiting for, we would switch it on.
Wow.
Yeah, we would switch on an application, and I would go finish my wash and come back for the PC to load.
Yeah.
For Windows to load. Yeah, I remember I would drop my school bag on, turn the PC on, and then I would go finish my wash, have my lunch, and then come, and the PC would still be loading. I'm not sure whether I had my wash and my lunch so quickly, or whether it took that long. But however,
Yeah.
that's what I recall. So there are things that they afford to, and then even at that time, I used to have this feeling like, why can't I afford for a video game? Like, there's this video game I want to buy, but I try to accumulate all my pocket money, and I also convince my brothers also. And I realized that, man, it's taking more than 1.5 months with so much of difficulty. You accumulate, and then you go to the shop to purchase this CD, this game CD, and then you're still 50 rupees short, or you're still 20 rupees short to buy it. And then you're thinking, how is this other guy getting it, man? And actually that's how the entrepreneurial side of mine began, was because I couldn't afford to pressurize my parents for pocket money in terms of the entertainment I wanted, or the canteen purchases I wanted to do. So
It's
that's where it
interesting
actually
that
began.
that thought started. I think it starts for a lot of us when we are really young, but we think, okay, because I grew up, I had this idea, and then it grew to be an entrepreneurship, to start my own business. But it starts at a very young age, which is very interesting. We don't realize it. But later, when we talk to someone, we're like, oh, actually, it started. Oh, I didn't know it was starting at that time, which
Yeah.
is interesting. Yeah.
You go down memory lane, and then you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy because everything is inside our head, but we can't figure that out on our own, and it just randomly pops up at some day and like, oh wow. So I find it really interesting. So I think the more we honestly talk with people, that's when we discover a lot of things from our past that are making things different right now. So it's just quite fascinating for me. So
Realizations.
yeah, it's a lot to do with our own realizations about ourselves. Even after 4, I'm pretty sure, even when you're 50 and 60, you'll still have a lot of things, self realization. Oh, what? All these 50 years, I didn't know this about myself. Yeah.
And that's why
Sure.
it's really important to have smooth childhood and to have involved parenting and guardianship around,
Hmm.
because it's necessary. Because most of the broken people that you see around is people who have had broken childhoods,
Yeah.
straightforwardly. And I also feel that as an adult, you should be able to make yourself. But enough with that.
Yeah. And anyway,
Yeah.
rewiring is a lifelong process.
Oh yeah. I'm still rewiring. I'm still trying to fix my thinking. 75 years in the making.
Wrong connection, sorry. Sure, you had learning difficulties, right?
I still have.
Okay, tell us about that because sometimes I don't know if I have or not have because I never properly checked them. So a few things that I remember is sometimes you you read something upside
Upside
down.
down.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Think-
one of the ways in which how I can focus on my concentration is I discovered reading upside down. Um, Sometimes I have to take a break from a book. I've this book that I've been reading, Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow, Thinking Fast and Slow.
Thinking fast and slow. Yeah.
Yeah, by Dale somebody. It's a lot to do with how thinking patterns and psychologies and problem solvings and things like that actually work. Quite relatable in terms of how we've been exercising it. And majority of the time, I also live in this very bad mindset where I think that you have a book around, and then by the time you read the introduction and maybe a few pages into it, and then you just come to the conclusion where you don't need the book, or you start judging the book, which is
Yeah.
it's a very bad thing, because every time I've judged a book, I've always gone back and I found myself restarting it. um, Funny thing is, I don't recall completing books,
Mm.
right? But I know that I have. Like, there are things that I skip. That's the reason why I don't recall completing any book. There are so many things that I skip. Like, sometimes there's a big chunk of it in the middle that is missing. And the reason why that main thing happens is, of course, laziness has got a big chunk of this problem. But I get tired. Like, I'm concentrating on something, I'm tired. And since of late, I've also seen that same tiredness happen while the other day I sat down to watch some Netflix. I can't remember what I was watching. It was some action movie. 10 minutes into it, I switch it off. Like, you're getting tired, like your concentration things are dropping. When my sports and my activities are high, like for example, if I'm doing my runnings on a daily basis, or I'm doing my weight training on a daily basis, then I find my concentration focusing back again, and my concentration is improving. But moment those disciplines on my physical activity reduce, then there's a direct impact in terms of my concentration towards any, or the patience towards learning. I would put it that way as well. The patience towards learning. Mathematics was a big problem for me. It was a lot of confusion, times tables. Although I enjoy mathematics now, uh, I really enjoy trying to. I've learned to enjoy it, and maybe it's not. That's the reason why I feel that learning should not be like, hey, you should learn all this within this particular time.
Yeah.
I feel that you should learn anything however you want, whenever you want. You can complete it whenever you want. You need not have a diploma to be received at this age, or a degree that has to be received at this age, or an MBA before you reach this age. I feel this is a very wrong thing to do, is because I feel I'm at the age of learning mathematics now.
Highly possible, yeah.
Yeah, and or maybe my brain has just grown now, where it can absorb
Have some
mathematics.
maths.
Now it can take on mathematics. All this while it can't. No, I was still figuring out crayon colors. 12 colors too much. Why can't we have 6? 24
Yeah.
colors. Oh my God, too much. Right? I don't know. Right. So I feel, um, yeah. So learning, getting through learning, reading, understanding. Sometimes I've got to take notes in order to keep my mind on a subject. Found myself restarting books multiple times. Uh, like I'm at a training program and I'm a student. I'm a learner at a training program. And then jargons come out from the trainer's mouth, like multiple forms of jargons, things like this. And then you're in this place, and whether do I take notes right now? Do I record what he's saying or what she is saying? Or do I just go back and say, okay, I have the tutes and I can read it and understand it again? Because reading tutes and understanding it again, this thing doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. Right? I right through college, I've sat through exams, I've passed exams with A pluses, A minuses, B plus, B minus. I've always had good gradings as well. The subjects that I've done, and all the subjects that I've done very well is straight from the trainer or from some reading, like then and there. If it's learned, it's learned once. You can refresh your memory, you can do that, but there is no learn it again with me. Like, if I learned it, I've learned it. If I hadn't learned it the first time, I've not learned it. It means that I've learned it again. You get what I'm saying? So
That makes sense.
that I felt, yeah. Am I lazy to overcome it? I think so. I feel that with time you find, I think laziness plays a very vital role in terms of anybody's comfort towards learning. I think why I say so is because you find quicker, easier ways to study it, or you just work around it, or you just give up on it and you just go for something else.
Yeah. Laziness, it keeps changing inside my mind. What's the definition of laziness? Laziness is, okay, I don't
Intelligence?
have it keep changing. That's another problem. See, you might be overperforming on one thing, and then you're not performing well on the other thing. And we call this part laziness, but actually you put a lot of energy and effort on a different thing.
Something else.
So laziness, it's different when you don't have anything to do and you're like wasting time. Okay, that is like real laziness. So that's why it changes based on the people we interact with, and then the projects we are properly involved.
You don't want to be having lazy people then.
Yeah, exactly. That's why finding the purpose is so important. If your purpose
Yeah.
doesn't align with my one, okay, then you're gonna be lazy under my context of
Cat.
purpose. Yeah. So that's
Speaking
what
of which, I think I'm very lazy with a lot of people.
because
Anyway.
anyway, that was one of my questions, but we'll come back to that in a while. You kind of defined it earlier also. Okay, I think we can jump into that anyway. So you said you created your own circle only recently that have the same intellect and energy as you, so that you can feel less stressed.
Feel less stressed rather
Honest and open.
is a very I think you feel more stressed as you create your circles. Reason why is because you have a gravity towards accountability. You gradually build a gravity to accountability, and there's a force towards it as you create your circles. And I think you will only feel more stressed as you keep creating your circles bigger. I don't know. I don't know whether that's the case with me, or whether I'm doing something wrong, or whether that's the laws of having responsibility, because you have a promise towards one another, and that creates a stress circle around. You can also move away from that stress. Common administrative terms that they utilize, or managerial terms they would utilize, is delegate and move forward. They would say something like that, but that comes from a leadership angle of view. What about your common levels on that also? And in that case, it would be like, plan, organize, whatever they would say. There are terms. There are terms in which how they try to move away from being under the anomaly of stress. But the reason why you create, I feel that the reason why you go on into such challenging environments to create certain things, or you try to consistently create these environments around you, is the um, bio, I wouldn't say just biological, but also it's a spiritual element of need towards being human. Like, you have the sense of needing to be appreciated, and the want to leave behind a legacy, perhaps a legacy of being an individual in society, or appreciated for something. It has got a lot to do with how you seek inspiration also as an individual, what you are inspired by, because without the shortage of inspiration is always going to give a bad product. Higher the inspiration being received is always going to give you a better product. Um, so there are standards also being met by an individual who is performing, right? Like, um, forgive me, I'm trying to say a lot of things at the same time, so I'm just going to break this down again. My understanding, I'm really sorry. So you as a person, you feel pressurized because you're creating circles around you to feel the need of responsibility. And the reason why you have to take on that responsibility and the need of that responsibility is because you are trying to leave behind a legacy or a sense of appreciation, right? And the bigger you dream about it, the more pressurizing it's going to be, or the bigger you aspire it to be. There's aspirations towards it, and you can't get to that aspiration without being inspired. Like, some people, they come up, I don't know how people come up with saying, like, I did it on myself. Like, you didn't do it on yourself. You had to have the help of people. You had to have people to believe in you. Of course, maybe you were the runner of the idea, but nobody makes it on their own. And if you say that you made it on your own, you're a conman, like literally a conman. You can't make it on your own. That's also there. Did I answer the question? I hope
I didn't
so.
ask the question actually.
Okay, that wasn't a question. Thank God.
I just
Okay.
yeah. Your brain was going back. Was there a question? No, it was.
No, that wasn't a question.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
So we have different circles anyway because of the experiences of people. So I can't go to a friend called Shifan. I can't go and ask him about tell me relationship advices, but I can ask him, hey, tell me how to be a good I don't know, husband if he's married and he's living a good life.
Okay.
Okay, but I can go to another person, let's say called Stephen or someone, and then I can go and ask him, hey, can you tell me a little bit about how to be confident, and because I'm struggling with making friends, but I can't ask him for husband life or relationship advice or business advice. So I think circles differ, and everyone has a very valuable place in our lives only when we connect with them in a deeper level. So we can't because I was like, okay, should I have one or two people in my life that I can get advice for almost everything? personal life, relationship life, education, career growth, confidence building, everything from the similar 3 to 4 people, it's highly not possible. So we have circle for different intentions. So
Hmm.
that's what I was trying to come up with. But anyway, at the beginning, I have noticed, maybe that's who you are. I don't know if you're an introvert or an extrovert. You put a lot of effort in maintaining relationship, for a long time. For example, the other day we met traffic police, and you start to have a conversation, and then you invited that person to have lunch, and then time to time you call that person and check what's going on, how's life. So which I thought, okay, that's a lot of effort to maintain relationship. It's not just one person, a lot of people. You regularly, whenever you're driving, you call and check what's going on. So has it changed, and did you make the circles smaller, or are you still handling a lot of people, trying to maintain relationships? How is it?
Um, there are two sides to following through with this conversation with what you had just said.
Yeah.
The first part being we go to people based on what we think that they can share their advice and their expertise on, which is true, and that is our conclusions of that person, and not necessarily that it is exactly that it is. You would be surprised. You might find the best relationship advice from a person who has who is divorced. You
Yeah.
might find the best. Yeah. So you might also find the best advice about learning and studies from a person who would maybe be identified as an illiterate in society. You never know where you might find the best form of knowledge or the source of learning from. This is a very confusing thing.
Yeah.
But however, we as humans, we tend to put people in bubbles or pockets of appreciations. What we feel is we have the
Based on
stencil, like it
ours.
has to be, yeah,
Yeah.
it has to be like this. So we think this person is going to be like this, so I will go to him for that, and there's nothing wrong in it. I think it's really good. The second part of the conversation being a dialogue being on how I manage my PRO and why I try to connect with people this way. Now, the traffic cop that you were referring to, the reason why I really wanted to follow through with maintaining a relationship with a guy is because uh, two reasons. One, he's the local area sergeant, right? He was the sergeant and the traffic cop in the local area. And he's an old bloke, old copper who's been stationed for a very long time. So a person who would definitely be there. And the second one is to make a point to him because the way he spoke was like as if the first time I met him, he spoke to us in a very inferior manner. Like, what I'm doing is important, what you're doing is not important. And had this whole mindset of like, I'm the king of the street, right? To which I knew very well that I can't teach this guy with his arrogance. I wanted to teach him a lesson, which I did. I did teach him a lesson. Of course, I had to pay him to get that lesson taught. And how I had to pay him was, of course, with gifts here and there. And nothing wrong was done. I wasn't in any trouble anywhere, or nobody was in any trouble. It was just a relationship. Hi, how are you keeping? Things like that. There was no bribery. There was no corruption involved. But there was, hey, come by on your off day. Come by.
Almost
Come to
human level of
office.
connecting, I think.
Yeah, come to
Yeah.
office, sit down, take a look at what we do. Do you have children in your town area? Let's give them a scholarship. Come on. And these are all expenses that we used to have. But of course, the reason why I was willing to go that way is because one quality connection inside the forces, an elderly like that, who's got nothing else. Literally, that man had nothing else to look forward for apart from liquor on his off day, at the station with his fellow peers. And every youngster that comes through, every new cop that comes through, he's definitely in a respectable position. So I wanted to leave a signature of, hey, there are also people like this who think and who are doing services on our own part. We might have vehicles, we might have watches on our wrists, we might be carrying mobile phones, but we struggle to pay for them. We work hard. And you're not the one who is working hard. You're just relying on favors from people, which is a wrong mindset. And it is your mindset that has kept our country in such a situation. It is your mindset that is keeping corruption afloat, right? It is people like you who are letting politicians abuse the system. And he understood that. And he accepted it. And that's the reason why I want to maintain a relationship with that person. And till today, the guy picks up the phone calls. I've told him directly, like, hey, don't call me for no reason because I can't waste time. I told him that. Because he, at a particular point, he started calling, like, regularly. How are you? Like, hey. I said, you want to meet me? You call, connect, and in 5 days we will meet. We meet in 5 days. Okay. If there's anything that I need, I will call you. If there's any support that you need, I will call you. You will call me. And that's this same learning that I took to how I'm maintaining relationships with the other cops and friends that is around in my residential area as well. And I realized that it's very necessary to maintain that PR level. Not for reasons of gathering favors. I've never asked in a favor from any of them. Not necessarily. I haven't. I of course, if there was a reason to ask, I would, because they would do it. But I haven't had any situation where I had to ask them any favors. And that has been able to help them expand their perspective. And of course, I've always had I've always had law officials speak like as if they are the law. You can be a law official, but you can't be the law. The law is the law, right? And when they speak about that, I'm like, hey, come, take a look at our junior law program. This is what we're doing. This is what we are doing. Kids, students that we have on our program, no more. It's like, you just wear the uniform. No disrespect, but you're the one who's disrespecting yourself. That impression.
I think the
That's
belief
why.
system they got used to. It requires some sort of a human connection to take perspective of a view of a different person. So I think you trying to connect with that person and then showing the world in a different way that these things has to be looked and felt. I think that's why that learning was much deeper rather than you just sharing everything in words. So just brought him and then just showed it, and I think that experience created a much deeper impact. So he realizes now maybe I think he would start to see the world in a different way.
I'm sure he definitely does, because the whole relationship at the beginning of the state, it was like as if, hey, I'm a sergeant,
Yeah,
you're here. But now how the relationship is that it's turned completely the other way. The respect that he and his colleagues and everybody has for me is like very different. Failing which part of the story goes as recently, when I say recently, of course, it was a little bit over a year. When I was driving, I was stopped just for just random check. and I put the shutter down, and some other copper recognized me, a person who I don't know. කොහොමද මේ මහත්තයාගේ යාළුවානේ? And he's like, oh, සනීපෙන් ඉන්නවද sir? It's like, oh, සනීපෙන් ඉන්නවා. You know, I'm doing good. Thank you very much. හරි ඔක්කොම තියෙනවනේ? You have everything? License ඔක්කොම තියෙනවනේ? He's like, yes, I had. Of course, I had everything.
Yeah.
It's like, බොහොම ස්තුතියි. ගිල්ලන්. Like, no, proceed. Respect changes, and that's how it actually works. That's how it's meant to work.
All right. Pufferfish. First year or two, what were the challenges that you have faced establishing or starting the company? I would say before me, and it's almost 5 to 6 years now. I think. Very beginning years. So this is, I'm talking about your own struggles executing it in your personal level. Maybe coming up with the idea or finding the right people. Sometimes it goes up and then it stops for a while and then comes back.
I feel one of the biggest challenges that I had in the creation of PF, which I feel is still being created.
Yeah.
And I think, I know we have touched a lot of lives and we have done so much. And I know it's putting a lot of putting food on the plate for a lot of people. And it's very important. But it's if I say it's 10% of what is in the idea of making, I'm wrong. I'm just openly wrong. I would say it's not even 10%. It's just less than 4% or less than 5% of what it is capable of and where it can go and what it's actually meant to do. And the first few years of bringing this out was having the right type of culture that I wanted to develop in. Because the first initial people that you bring in are the ones who are going to pave the path for the rest. And I did not want to have a culture that is bound by, hey, you're here for the money. I've seen organizations have this. My previous experiences with creating companies and having companies, we've spoken about money. We've spoken about sales, like right from the very beginning. And when the money is not there, the people are gone. Either way, if the money is not there, it's best if people go, because either they have to pay their bills, they better go and find some other place where they can find the money. But with Pufferfish, money will always be there as long as people are focused on what the objective of the organization is. Like, if there is any time that people have felt, just recently the P&L was just shared, and I was looking at certain months. The revenue created is this much, the expenses is this much, right?
Yeah.
And then it goes on like that for a few months, and then suddenly the revenue created is like this. The expenses remain the same, but that particular month or 2-3 months that's gone in, like, it's like it's telling for right around the year. And I was thinking about it, like, okay, now what happens when those months are coming through? Imagine you create a culture that's only there, hey, it's going to be missing in the first or second month. And we need to create mindsets and people who are willing to foresee problems like this and to avoid it from happening. And you can't make them understand that until they have tasted it.
Mm.
And being patient enough for the team to understand it, and that we are all in this together, without people looking at, hey, it's your responsibility, or you're the person who hired me, or you're the person who got this. To take away from that mindset is one of the most challenging things. We had, of course, we've had many great characters who are on board and off boarded. And I would safely say that majority of the offboarding, when people are no more on the team, when they left with happiness. Like, hey, I'm moving on to something more defined for me, where I feel that because the organization hasn't grown, I feel like I'm at a bar. I want to go bigger. That's the kind of feeling that they get. That's what it is.
That's again situations and purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can just say, we want to help people. So that's not actually the purpose. It
Mm.
has, it can be more specific. Okay, people, what do you mean? Children? Okay, below 6 years old, 5 years old, or adults? Okay, in which area? Life coaching or public speaking coaching? So when people say purpose, we just try to take this common term and this is the purpose. I think it can be defined even further. And that's when people try to master it and specialize it. And maybe one day they come back with a different skill set that we were not even expecting. Oh, okay. So that I see in a lot of different ways. People who have left, they come back with a different skill. It's more of a self discovery as well at the same time.
Mm.
Okay, I've learned this. Oh, these are the things. Oh, I didn't know. So the moment we try to hold them with our purpose and this is what we are capable of, this is what we have to do, and that small freedom of giving them the time to rediscover and come back, it's much stronger than before. So that's what I think in my experience. Okay,
True.
Shoaib, what are
Right.
this? What are some things that you are learning these days? Like investing a lot of time on learning.
Ooh. I wouldn't say investing a lot of time learning. I would say that learning as it goes. Actually,
Close, close.
this question has opened up a big explosion inside my head.
Oh, sorry.
It's like, Shuhaib, you've been wasting a lot of time. You've been wasting a lot of time, and which is very true. I feel that there is, and when I say it's not that I have the time to waste, no, it's just that there are pockets of times that could be more productive, and I've not been utilizing them right. I've been looking at how deep counseling works. There is levels of counseling, and there's a very deeper level of counseling. I've been trying to study those methods and forms. Um, Listening to some case subjects that's of course being shared in the group circles that I'm in. There's also something known as transformative coaching that is taking some time to understand, and I feel there are deeper levels to transformative coaching that I need to learn furthermore. There is also a big chunk of NLP practitioner learning that I have to get myself started on, which I've been procrastinating on for quite some time. Of course, foundation levels and just basic understanding levels, all these things I've been exercising for quite some time, and relearning them, unlearning them, relearning them is easy. But there is a deep practitioner level of neuro linguistic programming that I've got to get on with a focused study with. Sorry for answering the question that way. Like you're asking me what I've been doing, and I've been telling you what I've been planning to do.
Yeah.
But that's the truth.
But I think on your flow state, it's already happening because you're aware that you want to learn these things. So anyway, whenever something pops up, you subconsciously get into that learning.
Mm.
Don't you think so? For example, uh, when I'm really interested in learning people psychology or something, the moment
Yeah.
a YouTube video pops up about some character, how to build confidence or why people struggle, I quickly click it without even me knowing that I'm clicking it. I just open YouTube to watch a movie trailer or something, but I end up watching that.
Yeah. You're subconsciously more prone to that side of archiving that information because your mind is already wired on that.
Yes.
You're already on the bandwagon. Yeah, true.
So what I think is you might feel like you didn't dedicate time to learn that by sitting and learning properly, fully focused. But I think you've been learning
But that's
anyway.
what is actually needed. You need dedicated, focused time,
Yeah.
right? And that's exactly what is needed. And that's the reason why people also go and pay for courses. Like,
Yes.
yeah, I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna pay to learn. The truth is, the world is so open out there. You don't have to pay to learn anymore. I mean, pay to learn, pay to get disciplined at learning is what it is.
Yeah. True. True. Yes.
That's
Make me
right.
focus. Let me. Yeah. I think that's
Yes.
what.
Yeah,
That's
take
your
take
mind.
my money. Take my
Make me focus.
money. Make me come to you.
Make me sit down and finish this course. Yeah, that makes
Oh my
sense.
God.
Otherwise, we can all
Because people,
learn. You know.
very sad. I'm not sure if we are definitely just at an hour with our
Yeah.
casting. How much deeper do we go?
We went deeper on almost everything, but I had a lot of questions, but each part got a little bit expanded. I think that's fine. That's the flow of the conversation.
Okay.
Maybe we can have a part two of this, but maybe we can end it with the last question for today.
Okay.
What's the big goal you're working on or you want to achieve? Maybe through Pufferfish or as an individual. The biggest goal that you
Um,
in mind right now.
taking taking Pufferfish to a franchise level. When I came here to the UAE last year, I was trying to attempt the same thing to do so. And I had a lot of learnings and hiccups in terms of why the team is not ready.
Mm.
And this year round, I have plans of making sure that I'll be able to sit the entire team down again, rearrange the visions, the thinkings, rearrange the criterias, um, restructure an entire studio, make sure there are fresher timetables being come out, bigger projects to come out. I want a criteria of hiring, like, how much more people are going to come in. I want the team to expand, more trainers, more goal setting required for the leaders and the managers on the teams, because there are people. The operation that I'm running here in the UAE is a very, very different operation, right? And it's more focused on one-on-one concepts, and it is also focused on privileged coaching. Like you got to be a very privileged person to have this relationship of having a coach, um, and people don't like sharing that they are being coached,
Mm.
right? You when you're working with a certain set of people who want to project themselves that way, all they need is your time in order to focus on themselves, but they're not wanting. It's not like getting a fitness coach, right?
Mm.
It's very different, because their level requires that,
Mm.
and their branding style requires that for themselves. So I've got multiple things that need to correlate with Pufferfish, but this coming year is going to be 100% pufferfish. And when I say 100%, it's 100%. Because the deadline's out. I have kept quiet for 12 months where the coaching on the ICP products were not done. And I feel the team is ready for the next year. I don't know. I don't know how this conversation is going to pan out with the team. I've got to go. I've got to be at the table with everybody, put the questions out, see what the answers is, and everybody has got to listen to what everybody has got to say and see how it goes. I'm also scared, but I'm also excited.
Sounds like a lot of work. Maybe that's why you're scared.
Yeah, because I have a whole plan that's been worked on. I have an entire journal that needs to be executed.
Okay. So are people ready? Oh, I think we should be ready to learn more than being ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but there's also a shortage of learning if the experiences are deprived.
Yeah.
Like you can't
Exactly.
expect the team to think big. Like few things that I feel that the team has got to do instantly: travel, set bigger targets. And the problem is people are very much afraid in terms of trying to go to the next level. They don't want further expenses on their own, and this is a very suppressive way of thinking. That's okay. I've got to end this quick. I hope that was the last question, but let's wrap this up.
Yeah. The moment we ask another one, it expands to another whole podcast. Okay. Thank you, Shuhaib, for your time.
Podcast.
Yeah. We have.
Thank you very much for having me.